no one wants a construction loan. Nobody wants a mortgage. They want the house. And more than that, if it's a real estate investor, they don't want the house. They want the $400 a month cash flow, right? So focus on the results, not the features, not the tools.
Hey, welcome back to the Real Estate Excellence Podcast. A truly special show today. Back in the spring of 2021, while researching starting my own podcast, I came upon a show called Massive Agent Podcast. He is someone I have continued to listen to for almost 2 years off and on. And no matter when I tune in, he always has a value add. His choice or guests are outstanding. They aren't always the biggest names, but they have a huge value add to his listeners. He is a social media coach, speaker, all while being at EXP's top 1%. I know for one thing, this guy is passionate about what he does. Let's welcome the man with the best podcast intro I've ever heard, Dustin Brohm, to the show.
What's up, Tracy? Thanks for having me, man.
Thank you. Thank you. I do like that intro to your podcast, though. Do you have someone make that? You should put that together.
Fiverr. I had someone do it on Fiverr. Yeah, I totally ripped off the idea from Tim Ferriss.
That's right. It's awesome.
Thank you.
Bring this clip. So as I start off with every show, Dustin, give us just a little background of you, what your initial visions were as a young person, but eventually, obviously, what led you into real estate.
Yeah, I mean, I certainly didn't grow up wanting to be a real estate agent. It's very rare that you meet someone who's like, I'm going to grow up and be a realtor. It's something that I grew into eventually, like most people, and that's totally cool because I'm blessed that I did. But I grew up, middle class, middle of suburban America in Salt Lake City, and great, nothing to really complain about, but we certainly didn't live in abundance by any stretch. And as far as business went, I thought people that had their own business or worked for themselves were like different types of people. I don't know how else to describe it other than that. I just thought that because my parents were employees of companies and they jumped from job to job every now and then, that's what I had to do too, because that's all that I saw. And then just out of, in one of my low points in my late teens, very early 20s, my mom gave me a copy of Rich Dad, Poor Dad. She's like, read this. And I read that book and it absolutely changed my life because for the first time ever, I saw a path that I could be in control of my destiny, that I could actually own my own business. I could actually there was no limits on what I could do for myself, the amount of money that I could make, wealth that I could build. And I saw real estate as a path to do that. And never before was that ever possible until that book. So, that it would be lovely if from that day forward, I just, became wildly successful and rich. Didn't happen that way, but it got me on the right path to head in that direction. And so because of that book, I thought I was going to be a real estate investor. So my parents and we decided to jump into some Rich Dad education courses, which was like 40 grand at the time. And, it's like how to flip, how to do lease options, how to do this, that, and the other thing. And there was just a huge learning curve for us. And so we ended up buying a house to flip, and we were relying on an agent to give us the after repair value. Well, this agent was off by about 15K. Well, that was our profit margin. So we were going to make 15 grand after all was said and done. And he's like, oh, sorry, it's not going to sell for that much. We're like, well, shit. So do we sell it for a loss? Well, we ended up keeping it as a rental, which ended up being a blessing. And we were cash flowing quite nicely from that. But what it taught me was that if I wanted to be in real estate, I needed to have some control. I couldn't rely on some other agent we were told by a family friend who owned a brokerage, he's the best. Well, he was not the best. He sucked. But it taught me pretty quick, I need to be in control. So I need to get my own license. And through that, I met my first broker. He was the president of the local real estate investor association. And he said, if you want to flip homes, if you want to be a decent investor, get your license. So I did. And I joined him at his brokerage. And even then I thought I was going to be a real estate investor. And it wasn't until someone within his office referred a buyer to me and I helped them to buy a short sale. And I think my paycheck at the end was like $1,100. It was ridiculous, but nonetheless, it was a freaking paycheck. And that hadn't happened in real estate yet. And so I'm like, holy shit, maybe there's something to this realtor thing. And that's what got me on this path. But, then I linked up with a mentor within that office. And, again, another 4 or 5 years of struggle because I just wasn't, I didn't know what the possibilities were. I was only looking at one person's plan, thinking that had to be mine too.
Right. So I often, in talking, I really bring in the top realtors here in Northeast Florida. And one of the things we always talk about is the choice of brokerage and knowing what you know now and that experience. How important is someone starting new, to really search out and really ask questions and to match up with the broker that works for them.
It's huge. And it's maybe not for the reasons you might think. And unfortunately, there's only a few brokerages out there that actually are empowering and support the agents in doing whatever the hell they want to build and just giving them the tools to do it. There aren't that many brokerages that really, truly do that. They all say they do, but the proof is in the pudding. So I didn't know that in the beginning. However, I chose wisely. Even still, I don't regret it because I was linking up with my broker who had flipped 300 or 400 homes. And that's what I wanted to do. So I'm like, I need to be by them. So that was a good move. But after that, the mentor within the office was not a good fit for me because our personalities were very different. And he loved cold calling and door knocking and reading scripts and chatting people up in the produce section. And that was just not me, just not me. So I struggled because I was following someone else's plan. But yeah, a few lessons there for people, get around the people who have a lifestyle and not just a business, not just an income, but a lifestyle that you want, and then do what they are doing. Partner with them, link up with them, get them as your mentor, not just somebody who's making a lot of money, because some people who are making a lot of money are awful parents. They're awful spouses. They're just miserable human beings because they're burnt the hell out. So it's okay to say, I don't want that. I want income and I want family time. I want freedom. I want flexibility. It's all possible. You just have to follow the right path.
When you're coaching some of these newer agents or you're obviously they're attracted to come in and maybe follow you through the EXP model or whatever, to find their niche in prospecting. To find out, like you had to find out what worked for you. It wasn't cold calling and talking to people in the grocery store, as you said on your reel so eloquently. But how can what advice you can give an agent to try to find that thing that just works for them? And obviously they like to do it.
It's a combination of just being really honest with yourself. What the hell do you want to do? Like what do you want to do? Mm-hmm. Most people know what they want to do. They're like, oh, I'd love to do videos. I would love to do a YouTube channel. That just seems so fun. Well, okay, lean into that. But once you do, you may realize, oh, this is actually a lot different than I thought. I don't like it very much. Like I played a little bit of college football and I ended up hating it because high school football was fun. It was a great experience. College, even at the little rinky-dink D2 school I went to, it was more of like a job. It was serious. There was no camaraderie. It wasn't fun. And so I thought it would be, but it took me getting over there to realize, okay, this isn't where I actually want to be. This isn't what I want to do. So you've got to just test a bunch of things. Start with what do you think you want to do it. And if you're like, okay, this is not it for me, I'm not going to be able to stick with this long-term, then find something that you will. It's really not much more complicated than that. It just takes effort and a little bit of time.
Well, the time part. So the next question is obviously you have to do it consistently and so forth. What if someone would, decided whatever it was, a door knocking, if that's what I actually had an agent, I was going through some of my old videos and that was one of the things she said she liked doing. And it's like, wow, okay. Well, if you like, how long are you going to do it? Like you say, you may like it walking around the neighborhoods, but maybe you're not good at it. It's not actually giving you a return. How much time are you giving that 3 to 6 months? When at some point you're like, well, maybe this isn't me. Maybe it just doesn't click.
Yeah, that's hard to answer. I think the answer is different for everybody. I door knocked for 2 years, even during the winter. I wore it as a badge of pride that I would be out there while it was snowing like crazy, knocking on doors because people would take sympathy and invite me in or talk to me. And that worked a little bit. Didn't necessarily lead to more deals, but I had more conversations. But I think that I knew pretty quickly within a few months that this is just not awesome. But I thought that I just had to keep going. I didn't know what the other options were because my mentor was like, well, just knock on more doors, right? Just walk faster. Seriously, that was his solution. And I'm like, okay. And because I didn't have anyone else who could be like, grabbing me by the hand and showing me some other options, and I certainly wasn't plugging into social media because it wasn't what it is today. I mean, this was, 12, 10, 11, 12 years ago. I certainly wasn't seeing what others are doing. I didn't have mentors from afar through podcasts or social media. So I was stuck. I was just like, well, I guess I'll just keep going and I'll be persistent. But you've got to know what the other options are. And having someone who knows what those options are, even when you don't, is pretty key.
Right. So obviously listening to your podcast, you get great guests on and they're giving a lot of nuggets and so forth. Some of these agents who may have hit a lid, because one of the questions, actually, it was one of the last questions I asked, but I'm going to put it forward. I think everyone has their opinion. Why do 80% of the agents are out before their first renewal, right, of their license? They're just out of the business. Or obviously right now, as rates went up, they say 40% of agents are going to drop out. What do you recommend to them in a point where they've got to make a change? If they're at a brokerage, it sounds like the brokerage you had stopped giving you value not too far into your career there, but you stayed there because you didn't know where else to go. Where today there's so much fingertips for a newer agent. If you started today, it'd be totally different, I would think.
Oh, completely. Yeah. But like I said, I still don't regret starting with that brokerage because I did it right in choosing my broker. I wanted to be by him. He was flipping a bunch of homes and I wanted to do the same thing. I just didn't have the access to him that I thought that I did or that I thought that I would. And that's totally fine. I don't fault him for that. But I also, part of it was me just being stubborn. I mean, let's be honest. Most agents, they just dig their heels in to whatever they're doing. And not just the brokerage, but like, what do they do to get business? They just dig their heels in and they just aren't willing to be self-aware enough to ask, is this really going to get me where I want to go? Is this really working? And Tracy, that's hard because, some people might say, well, I don't want to quit. I don't want to give up. That's the easy way out, when they should quit. They should do something else. And so that's hard. That's why if it's all on you to figure out, you only have the one perspective. One of my mentors once told me that it's hard to read the label from inside the bottle. It's really, really hard to really see reality when you're inside. You need people on the outside to be like, hey, like, here's what we see. Here's what we think your strengths and weaknesses are. Here's what we recommend. Here's what some options are. So I was with my previous brokerage for so long because I thought that the value they provided to me was leaving me alone. I'm like, they just let me be over in the corner doing my thing my way. Didn't get shit for it. Like, I got dot loop premium. Whoop, $40 a month. That's fantastic. But I thought that was great. And I was only paying $500 per transaction. See, I was putting way too much emphasis on the cost of a transaction versus the value that a brokerage can provide to you. And it took me about a year to make that transition. And it took my friend Shannon in Virginia to start telling me all the experience she was having at our brokerage. And finally I was like, okay, that does sound better. And I don't have access to any of that. That's not even, that's like a different world, but it took me a year. So again, it took someone on the outside to show me something different. Otherwise, look, I'm stubborn, and that's good and bad. I stick with stuff. If I say I'm going to do a podcast every Thursday morning, I'm going to do a podcast every Thursday morning forever. And like, that's good and bad, but I also stick with things too long unless someone kind of smacks me, so you got to have both.
Yeah, I just, one of the things, I think you've probably seen it as well. Some of these, really young agents, which when I was growing up, and I know I'm older than you, when I was growing up, it generally were typically older men and women that were in, doing real estate in the 80s. And now I'm seeing these, well, I call them kids because they could be my kids, 23 years old coming out of college. And because they're hooking up with the right mentors and so forth and implementing the strategies and so forth are just, have like a leap start to their business right out the gate.
Yeah.
And make a lot of money at 25 years old.
There's so many variables to it too. Like when I got into real estate, I didn't have any credibility with my contacts. Like the people I went to high school with, they're like, wait, you want to sell houses now? like we were just smoking weed last week. What are you talking about? And so I had to work over time to build some credibility. And it started with people who didn't know me yet. So I had to learn how to reach those people. I had to reach new people and build credibility. So then the people who did know me could see that I was credible with those people and be like, oh, I guess maybe he does know what he's talking about. It took time and effort. So there's others that they get their license and they just start selling dozens and dozens and dozens of homes right off the bat. And it's because maybe their confidence is a lot higher than mine was when I started. They have a lot more credibility with their contacts. They have a large group of contacts, and like everyone starts at a different place. So there's a lot of different variables to it. And that's why it's so damn important to have someone who's already done the thing that you want to do, who can help you see the path forward, because the path is slightly different for everybody.
This is a good real question for us. I'm going to send you the video too, so you got this question out. What are 3 things that you're telling, especially new agents in their first year, they must be doing? 3 things.
They have to be doing video. To be relevant in 2023 and beyond, you just have to be doing video, because if you're not, your competitors are, and your competitors are going to be showing up in the news feeds of everyone that you're connected with. Everyone who you think will hire you when the time comes, they won't remember what you do because you never show up. So you have to be doing video. Plus, that's what builds the personal connection with, number 2 and 3 would be do video. I don't know what else obviously there's more to it than that, but yeah. When you can get in front of the camera and speak to it, over time you build confidence, and that translates to sitting at a kitchen table at a listing presentation too. It helps me with my confidence if I'm speaking on a stage somewhere, or if I run into someone face to face. Like I'm a more effective communicator because I started doing video and podcasting, speaking to just a lens. That really solves so many problems. Most people who are struggling have a confidence problem. Well, getting in front of the video camera and doing enough of it to build confidence, that's pretty powerful in all aspects of your life. It's going to help you be a better spouse and parent.
You're doing some social media too. You list on your LinkedIn, because obviously you're always professing about it on your podcast quite a bit. It's the different things. Like I think today I was listening to a guy on TikTok. I haven't finished listening to it, but when someone's hiring you a coach, or you're working with a group, or you're going in and doing a training, obviously there's agents that are being fired by their social media companies because they're not giving them the content. They're afraid to just shoot the video, then hand it off to somebody and make it look good. What are some of the things that are you teaching them, other than, hey, you need to do this or die? What are you trying to do to help them, obviously, because they're hiring you as a coach, to warm them up and understand that it's not going to bite you?
So I'll be honest, some people just will never do it. I can't make someone work. I can't. Now, what I can do is help them to remove all of the mental barriers that are stopping them from doing it. Whether they're willing to let them go is out of my control. So what we work on a lot is just setting proper expectations. If you don't have proper expectations up front, you're screwed. So many people get started and they went to a seminar, or they heard a podcast, or they took a course, and someone's like, you got to do video and do it on these topics. And then they do it and it sucks and nobody listens. And they're like, oh shit, that sucked. And a lot of them don't ever do another one. Like they were thinking it would just get 1 million views and they'd get 47 listings from their first video. But that's what I'm saying. If you don't set expectations, your expectations are automatically jacked. So I really make sure, what I do is I show people my first video that I ever did. Like, watch that. And after you're done throwing up, get back in front of the camera, because the only reason that I can do what I do now versus that first video that's so cringeworthy and makes people puke is thousands and thousands of reps. So I let them know it's going to suck in the beginning. You're not going to be good. You're going to be awkward. Your voice is going to crack. You're going to lose your train of thought. You're going to just feel people are going to see that you're nervous. The only way, there's only one way to get past that, and that's to do it enough so you get past it. And so setting the expectations that you're not going to get a bunch of business in the beginning. You may get one or two people that are closest to you that maybe they take pity on you, or they're so close to you that you just happen to hit them at the right time. And they're like, oh, cool. Like, let's go shopping for homes. That happens. But to have new people that don't know you yet start to hire you, you've got to build a hell of a lot of confidence and some communication skills, because if they don't know you, they're not going to listen to you stumble through a video. So you've got to just go through the motions. So we spend a lot of time on setting proper expectations. You're going to suck in the beginning. That might be a week. It might be a year. It's probably just going to be a couple months. But if you can endure the suck, there's gold at the other end. Every single person that we look up to as doing great videos and who gets a lot of business from their videos, at one point they sucked. At one point their videos were garbage.
Dustin, speak a little bit to your career. You've started the podcast a few years ago. You're doubling down on your social media. I'm seeing a lot more. I don't know, it's because I either just searched you out to watch your videos before this or whatever. I'm seeing a lot more. You're posting on LinkedIn, YouTube, and Instagram. I know are your two main places, but how you're building credibility, the more and more you're putting that video and being in front and being top of mind of those that algorithm's sending out to.
Yeah. Some of it's psychology, when something weird happens where when you see somebody like a dentist or a doctor or a real estate agent or like a swimming instructor, right? You see them everywhere. You think that everyone else has the same experience. You think that everyone else sees those people everywhere too. And so you just think, wow, they must really be the best. They must, like, they're everywhere. So when I love to ask realtors, who do you think is like the number one best, like the best, most visible, most known agent in your market? And then they'll have someone in their mind. I'll say, okay, why? Why do you think they're the best? And usually it's a combination of like billboards, as I hate to say it, but billboards build credibility. Billboards, social media ads, just being seen here and there, and like in the flyer at the high school football game, the football program, or a banner in the outfield of the high school baseball field. All of that stuff adds up over time. So as you're seen in all these different places, you build up omnipresence. And there's just something where we feel like, okay, that person must be everywhere to everyone, when it's really just us that's having that experience. And so that certainly helps to build credibility. Well, it helps to build credibility. You have to actually, once you're showing up in all those places, do something that's credible, right? You have to show that you know what you're talking about. You have to say something or do something that person, first off, gets their attention and resonates with them. So you're not going to, there's a lot of people who, when they see my stuff, I'm probably losing credibility with them. Cool. They go this way, I go this way. The right people follow me.
Right.
I'm totally at peace with that. I love that. Like when people unsubscribe from my email list, I love it, because we were never going to work together anyways, right? If they're tired of seeing me, they're not going to hire me to be their coach. They're not going to join my team. So cool. It's helping me refine my audience. Again, it comes back to expectations. If we think that when we put a video or a post out there that everyone's going to love it, we're kidding ourselves. Some people are not going to love it. I don't care who you are. Some people see my stuff. Some people see Gary Vee's stuff, Tom Ferry's stuff, whoever. And they're like, yeah, that guy's a jackass. Okay. So all that's doing is just filtering, and you have to be at peace with that. So when you continue to show up online and on social media feeds, you are attracting the right people who are attracted to you and your personality and the way you say things, the way you do things, your body language, all of it. There's some people who see that I wear a backwards hat and think I'm an idiot. Cool. They're not for me, and I'm not for them. So expectations. The goal should be to attract the right people, not all the people. I don't want to work with all the people. Most people are crazy. I don't want to work with those people.
Hey folks, this episode was produced by Streamline Media, the #1 media company for helping brands generate content that converts. I knew I wanted to start a podcast to reach more people and bring value to the world, but I did not have the time or the knowledge. Streamline Media became my secret weapon to building my show. They handle all my back-end work, production, and strategies to keep my show going strong. If you're in the real estate business and looking to make content that generates more leads and brings in more revenue, check out the Streamline Media link in the show notes and discover how partnering up can supercharge your path to real estate excellence.
Vision.
So, and what are some, in your experience from a real estate agent side, the type of videos that are probably the easiest to do that agents should just, start doing? Some of the basic, are they and when they do the walking through the house, should they be in the video a little bit? What kind of advice are you giving them from that standpoint to make the videos more impactful?
The answer to all of that is yes, if done right. Yes. If done right. This is where practice comes in. I mean, let's be real. We've all done a home walkthrough video that 3 people liked. And then you go to Instagram and you see a home walkthrough video that lasts 13 seconds that 1.5 million people like, and it got 13 million views. Why? What's the difference? Well, there's a lot of differences. They're subtle. The lighting, the house that you chose to highlight. I mean, maybe you just chose a boring house that nobody cares about. If it's an average house, it doesn't stand out. Can we be honest? The average house, there's nothing special about. As far as jumping off the screen on social media, what does? Amazing like destinations in Bali or Australia, or the vacation spots like a beach in Hawaii, that gets my attention. So do luxury homes when filmed a certain way with certain music. Right. So part of it is you have to just go to who's doing it really freaking well and just dissect every aspect of that. In their video, how long does it last? Okay, it's 15 seconds. Okay, how many different shots are in that 15 seconds? There's 7 of them. Cool. How long do those last? 1.5 seconds. Cool. And it doesn't have to be exact. But you start to get an idea of the format, and then you're like, okay, well, the song that they used with that video was hip hop or electronic or whatever. It was a trending sound. Okay. And the transitions kind of matched up with it. When you can dissect it, you're literally just building the blueprint for yourself just by following what works. But it starts with doing a bunch of stuff poorly before you can actually like wrap your head around that stuff. Because if you're just starting, you're not going to know to ask those questions. You're not going to know to look for how long does each clip last before it transitions to the next. So
I think you would agree. You just shoot the house. Let's start with that, and then graduate, making it better and better as you go along. I
agree.
Luxury home in LA for $5 million that Altman's showing on $1 million listings would do great on an Instagram reel or TikTok, but you're not going to get any business from that. That's not you. So you don't want to take it too far to the extreme and say, well, I got to find a luxury home to shoot. Otherwise I'm not going to shoot a video because my, $250,000 house in Northeast Florida just isn't flashy enough.
Right.
Would you agree with that?
I would. Yeah. The point that I'm trying to drive home there is you have to be honest about what gets attention. And so if you're so hell-bent on highlighting your new listing and the listing just, there's nothing that special about it, then, okay, what is special? What's the one thing that if only people knew that about your listing, they'd come see it? Maybe it has nothing to do with the house itself, but the location is super convenient. Super convenient location. It's right by a new park, right by a new splash pad, within walking distance of this train station or bus stop. It's, 90 seconds from the freeway on-ramp, whatever. Highlight that stuff. That's important to people. Like, they look for that stuff. So, but let's get past just the house too. For God's sakes, people aren't hiring a house. They're hiring an agent. They're looking for a personal connection with a human being. So to answer your question, you don't need to be in the video, but when you are, it helps people connect with you. So some of the best videos, now it's going to take time to get this dialed in, is to find a topic that will appeal to First, you pick a topic like FHA loans. Let's say what you want to get across to the audience is you don't need to wait years to save 20% for a down payment. There's 3% down, there's 3.5%, there's 5%, there's 0% down, right? There's all these options. So how do you do that in a way that actually will get someone's attention? You have to figure out a hook. And so if you start the video off and you say, hi, it's Dustin Brohm with eXp Realty. And today I want to talk to you about how you don't need 20% down to buy a house. How many people are still watching that video? 0. Because you wasted the first 3 seconds. They're gone, right? They don't know you yet. So you pop up in their feed and they're like, this person's introducing themselves. I don't care. And I can see them in the upper left. Still don't care. They're on to the next one. But if you start and you say, here's how you can buy $1 million house for just $35K. Now even people who are like, I'm not even looking to buy a house, but what? 35K to buy $1 million house? How does that work? And they will watch it. And then you explain in certain high priced markets, you can get a FHA loan, $35,000 down, gets you into the $1 million house. You got this, you're still taught them the same topic, but the way you hooked them in the beginning grabbed their attention and kept them listening. It also builds credibility for yourself as an educator and an advisor. So that takes time to learn how to do. Watching other people that do it really well is how you do it, but then you've got to practice. And you're going to, as long as you can start thinking that way now, how can you hook people in the beginning with something interesting? You're going to be much more successful, much faster. And
the other day I was watching a reel. I thought it was you or someone was saying, if you're going to be out there creating content, you also have to be a content consumer. You have to be watching what the others are doing in some of these videos that are catching your eye. Why did you stop on that video and watch it? Type of thing. I can't remember if that was you or not that said that, but I want to move on. You were talking to the TikTok guy. I was listening to it this morning. I assume you probably recorded last week, but you like Instagram and YouTube Shorts. You do a little bit on LinkedIn because I've been seeing your stuff there. What is it, the difference between YouTube? Because I'm really into the thought that YouTube is like a library. When someone's searching something, searching a neighborhood or whatever, and you're putting that in the video, they're going to find it 5-year-old video. They're not typically searching in Instagram to find that. So why you use both and what reasons an agent should be using those platforms?
So YouTube is a search engine. It's not a social network. Big difference. Now YouTube is adding in components of social media to it by adding shorts. And YouTube has stories. If you have, I think you need 10,000 subscribers, then you can do stories on YouTube and all of that. I'm not there yet, so I just use shorts and long form videos. But I'm also all about just getting as much visibility for my content as possible. Meaning, why would if I'm going to take the time to do one video, why wouldn't I post it everywhere? Right? Why just post it on Instagram? The same damn video works well on Instagram Reels, Facebook Reels, TikTok, YouTube Shorts, and LinkedIn. I put it on LinkedIn as an afterthought. I'm like, I have this video, may as well put it on LinkedIn too. It's not my first strategy or my first priority. It's an afterthought. But you saw it there. Other people see it there. I've gotten speaking opportunities because people see my videos there. So if you're going to take the time to do a video, put it everywhere. I mean, as long as it fits the format. Luckily, short form vertical video works on all the platforms. So another reason why is I could have a video absolutely bomb on Instagram and then it just gets a ton of views on YouTube or vice versa. Like just yesterday, within the last couple of days, I posted a YouTube short that got 4 views. 4 views. And on Instagram, it got like 10,000. So imagine if I had only posted on YouTube Shorts. So it's diversifying. I'm all about being doing what's reasonable. We have to be real estate pros. Okay? We're doing this marketing to get more business. The business is not content creation. Now, you should work towards where you can be a content creator that happens to sell homes, but it takes a minute. You got to build a system for that. And in the meantime, you've got to do what's reasonable to do. You're not Gary Vee. I'm not Gary Vee. I don't have a team of 60 that can post a different video to each platform every hour. Can't do it. So I record one video and I put it in as many places as possible that video fits on. And sometimes it works well here. Sometimes it works well there. And, because all the algorithms are different. One may explode on TikTok and the others just kind of peter out on the others. Thank God I posted it everywhere.
TikTok didn't really work for me. I kind of stopped using TikTok, but what I found on Facebook Reels is I'll get people, they're liking a reel that I put out 2 weeks ago. I'm like, what reel is that? I'll click on it and it brings it up. I'm like, wow, I put that, but they'll just keep pushing it at different times or, falls on the different algorithms or whatever.
Exactly.
YouTube, if you go back and actually, took a screenshot of all your videos, and if you're doing them right, and then someone was teaching me on the end, you obviously ask them to subscribe, or on the podcast stuff, I'll say, go back to the full video. Those full videos, are getting slow clicks, and they're going where obviously the reel goes out, might get 1,000, 2,000, on a good day for our little 30-second reel from that entire clip. So yeah, they're constantly coming up.
Yes.
Let's trace up, but I know Brett, you probably have a question or two, right? You've been listening.
Hi,
Britt had just did it yesterday on, which unfortunately I did not attend.
Yeah.
But she had a bunch of realtors in and talking about social media. Tell them a little bit about what they're and some of the things that were brought up in that.
Okay. I do business development and social media marketing. This is our marketing director, Jess.
They're a landmark title. So probably the top title company in Northeast Florida.
Awesome. In the state of Florida. But social media and marketing is my passion. So that's a way that for us to do marketing to agents is not only provide value in a closing room, but also educationally. We are 8-person training room downstairs. We had it packed with 90 agents yesterday.
Awesome.
And this is really what we talk to them about is just getting over yourself, getting in front of the camera and, utilizing some things. We talked about Facebook, Instagram, ChatGPT, because everybody came back from a lot of conferences and that's all they could talk about was AI and not understanding what AI really is and that they use it every day. I guess they thought it was this robot. I'm not sure what they thought. So everything that you're touching on, I also use a lot of curse words and parables to describe things, but everything that you're stating, I don't really have any questions. I just think that sometimes it's good to hear from other people, especially if you are an agent and you work in that realm. I'm not an agent, so I don't know the day-to-day that they go through. I know the day-to-day that we go through and making their lives easier. So I really don't have a question at this time.
I might have one.
Yeah, go
ahead.
So, I'm not as versed as Tracy in getting a podcast together. I've had the squirrel syndrome where, you do the first 2 videos and you're not doing that great. And sometimes you can be too niche. So how do you appeal to a broader audience without being too niche and then also providing engaging content? Like, what would be your suggestion on finding a roadmap to doing that?
First off, what do you mean too niche? Give me an example.
Just for my, specifically, I love renovation lending. So that's kind of my baby. And I've done that for most of my career. Wrote a book about it, do seed credit across the state about it. And I try to, especially young people, to embrace house hacking, using that for multifamily and taking multifamily using FHA 203K, VA renovation loans. But how do I make that so sexy and appealing to somebody that's willing to maybe think outside of the box, right? With sex sells. More so than, well, you need a HUD consultant. How do you make that more appealing to the masses versus niche?
Yeah, man. You sell the results, not the features.
Okay.
What you just talked about, you know who Pace Morphy is?
I know who I know of that. Okay. Well, I think I follow him. He got the huge following on Facebook.
Huge. Yeah, YouTube, Instagram, everywhere. But he's like one of the top real estate investor educators out there, and he's an amazing human being. I know him a little bit through a mastermind that we're members of, but he talks to the same audience you're trying to talk to, but you're talking about all of these tools as if those are that's like, put the tools away and talk about the results. And the tools only come in when you are working to get the result done. You know what I mean?
Good stuff right there.
You talk about a construction loan and people are like, I don't know. No one wants a construction loan. Nobody wants a mortgage. They want the house.
I love that.
And more than that, if it's a real estate investor, they don't want the house. They want the $400 a month cash flow. Right? So focus on the results, not the features, not the tools.
Preach, baby.
Yeah.
I just tagged you in.
I know your chat GPT reel got some decent views the other day. I was going through your YouTube shorts. You did a chat GPT. Explain when this, because I'm going to obviously put this out and it'll go on the air next week, and obviously I'll be cutting shorts out as well as putting the long form out. But chat GPT, how are you using it? Because there's so many millions of ways. And what are some other people that are using it for other things that are having great results?
Yeah, I don't use it that often anymore. When it's one of those things where it's super beneficial if you have a creative block. So ChatGPT completely eliminates blank page syndrome, which is where you're like, okay, I'm going to write something, and you grab your blank page and you're like, oh, fuck. You have no idea what to write. Okay. It eliminates that because you're like, hey, give me 5 posts for Instagram for a first-time home buyer. And then it tells you, and you got to tweak them a little bit, but it got you 90% there. So that's what it's really for. I use it more for like YouTube descriptions for podcast episodes, or if I'm going to do a lead magnet and, like what are 10 pain points people have when buying their first rental property. And then you can, speak to those, create pieces of content around those. It's a great idea generator. I'm a creative, and so I don't have a problem with a lot of that stuff, but sometimes I need a head start. But people who don't have ideas, ChatGPT is gold. It's gold. There's a lot of advanced ways to use it that I have not done. I'll probably hire someone to do it, where ChatGPT will automatically like create graphics for you in Canva, or like become your chatbot on your website and all this stuff through APIs. That shit's over my head. But it can do some crazy stuff, and that's just the current version. That's just version 3. Version 4 is supposed to come out later this year, which is just going to be hard to wrap our heads around.
I'm going to say one thing we did talk about yesterday, because we were taking 4 different ways that real estate agents could utilize ChatGPT. So I don't know if you've thought about this, but for those who don't like to do video, because I push video too, I push video in-house and out, is to have it just give you a ballpark script of a description, of a listing description, so that you are those people that freeze when you go on camera and you're like, I don't even know what to say. It will literally give you going into the house, panoramic view of the ocean, and then going into that property. So that was another way that real estate agents can utilize ChatGPT. You're gonna have to
1000%.
Make it your own.
So
go ahead.
This is kind of fresh in my mind because I just recorded a YouTube video yesterday on 7 ways to use ChatGPT as a realtor. And one of them is, video scripts, like you said. So for example, the one that I do in the video is write me a 60-second long video script for a video about why home buyers do not need 20% down to buy a house. And it knows how to format it as a script. Now you go in there and add some personality to it, but my God, it gets you 90% there. It does articles for local websites, your social media captions. If you already know what the post is about, then, write me a short, sarcastic Instagram post about why home buyers should always have an agent represent them. ChatGPT can actually be a smartass, I found, if you tell it to be.
That yesterday was so much fun.
Yeah, it's funny.
I actually, a couple of weeks ago when FHA announced they were lowering their monthly MIP, I went in there and told it, write a script about FHA dropping their monthly MIP from, 0.85, 0.55. It actually gave me, I'm getting my calculator out to calculate what the average savings would be on a similar purchase. It actually did it in the script. It said it would go into, it's going to save you $70 a month. It just automatically, just without me even asking it to do it.
It summarizes books. It'll write a book. It's wild. It'll write code to create apps. So it's wild.
I'm checked out. For you guys that have some more questions, anybody have anything you want to get with Dustin on?
I'm tapped out, he says.
I got my list here.
I'm agent, so I'm very active. I'm learning to be more the video and be on social media. But I want to know from your experience doing the podcast, you were talking about credibility, being more credible. Has any customer said, hey, I heard your podcast or I saw your video, and did that help you for them to hire you as their realtor, or, just from your experience?
Absolutely. You can manufacture credibility in the short term, right? You've got to be able to maintain it after that. But what's crazy is just by being the host of a show, some people will find you credible. And with my show, because my audience is you, real estate agents. So now I don't personally sell anymore. I intentionally got out of personally selling. So I'm personally out of production. But when I was, and I had my podcast, there was a year or two there where people are like, oh, you do a podcast for agents? Oh, cool. And they thought because I taught other agents that I must be good. I don't think they ever listened to it. I don't care. Right. So you can do this for yourself by hosting a show. You're now a show host. And to most people who are not marketers, which is most people, they just see, oh, you are the host of a show. Wow, you must be credible. You must be a subject matter expert. You must be a thought leader. They're not asking you to see your back end dashboard to see how many downloads you get. They don't care. They just like, wow, you host a show. That could be a YouTube channel, a Facebook Live show that you do every week. It could just be a series that you do within your stories. Just call it a show, and now you're a show host. It's amazing what that'll do. Just like people that have written books, we just assume they know what they're talking about. A lot of them don't.
Dustin,
they're authors.
Do you know Travis Chappell? Travis Chappell, he lives out in Vegas. Anyway, Travis is the coach I hired initially to get it going. But he also started, and I know there's several platforms out there, but Guestio is one of his platforms. Being a guest on a podcast, because of the content that's going to be produced and the fact that you're recognized to be, good enough to be interviewed,
right,
is a great way to build credibility. So if you don't want to go through what Dustin and I do all the time on the production side, is to get on podcasts and then obviously take that content and repurpose it and show it, over and over again that, hey, I was good enough to be interviewed on these shows. And obviously,
it's true. Yeah. If you are speaking in front of a room or on a stage, people see that as, wow, that person must be credible. So there's so much subconscious happening there, and you can manufacture that for yourselves. I know of agents here in my local market that they just got a couple microphones that aren't even freaking connected, and they go hold them sitting on a couch and they have a conversation and they pretend like they're on a podcast, and then they put out the video clips, and they're decent clips, but I'm like, there's no wire coming out of that mic. No.
Recording it on their phone, going Facebook Live and putting it out there.
Yeah.
It's like heard on the street with Billy Weststein.
I can do you make it. Believe it or not.
Yeah. Whatever works.
Dustin, I appreciate you coming on today. Anybody else? Any questions? I will send you a link. I'll send you a copy of the video here, because I know you see some reels for yourself, as I know easily get 10, 15 reels from you out of this and out there. And I appreciate it. Appreciate you coming.
I appreciate it. Nice to meet you guys. I've never been to Jacksonville, but I'd love to. So if you ever need a guest speaker to do a training or something there for Landmark, happy to do it.
Yeah, we definitely. I know we have a good group of EX people here, as you know, Austin Preek and Josh.
I do
Rogers.
not. I know Josh Rogers. Yeah.
And unfortunately, I think they're probably out at the golf course right now. So, but
I know Austin. Aren't you Austin?
No, that's
not Austin.
John out. He looks like Austin.
I know. Very
Okay.
Top sales for his group yesterday. They have and then there's a couple other EXC agents that we have here. EXC is an anomaly in itself. I love chatting it up with those agents. I have Josh Rogers speaking on panel for me. I do.
He's awesome.
here. They call Breakfast of Champions. So Tracy can link us up because we are always looking for speakers to come in here and talk to agents on how to grow.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm happy to do that stuff. That I love traveling and talking to groups. So let me know if that's
You were talking about the snow the other day, and I was listening to the podcast. You're talking about how much snow you got out there. Well, we're wearing shorts over here today. I normally would wear shorts. I wear pants because I'm in here today. But yeah,
the dick move, Tracy. Yep, still snowing here.
Hope to meet soon.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
You have a great day.
See ya.
Bye.